Welcome everybody. Today we're going to be diving into the world of conditionals through this online learning path. In this video, I will introduce you to the basics, which you will be needing to complete all the other exercises later on. But let's start with the basics of the conditional. As previously said, we're going to be covering conditionals, which are a type of grammatical structure which we use to express possibilities, plans, and hypothetical situations. Hypothetical situations are unreal situations, so situations you think about but did not actually happen. This is important to remember, but we will repeat it a few times. So, what does conditional mean? Conditional comes from the word condition. This translates in Dutch to, I'll leave you guys a few seconds to figure that out. I hope you guys know. It translates to voorwaarde. Dus er moet een voorwaarde zijn. So, for a sentence to be a conditional sentence, it needs to refer to, drumroll please, a condition. For example, this is a conditional sentence. If I win the lottery, I will buy a house. First of all, this is an example of a hypothetical situation because the person says, if I win the lottery, this person did not win the lottery. It's not a real situation. Now, the question is, what is the condition here? I'll leave you guys a few seconds. I hope you got this right. Indeed, it is if I win the lottery. This is the condition. So this sentence is a perfect example of a conditional. Now, let's see if you guys have already gotten the hang of this, and let's play a short game of spot the conditionals. These are all sentences, and some of them are conditional sentences and some of them are not. The first one, she loves dancing to house music. Do you think this is a conditional sentence or not? This is not a conditional sentence. She just loves dancing to house music. There is no voorwaarde. Okay, let's look at the next one. If I win the lottery, I will travel. Is this a conditional or not a conditional? It is a conditional sentence because we have if, and if shows that it is a conditional sentence. Now, this one should be quite easy. If you heat ice, it melts. Is this a conditional or not a conditional? It's a conditional. I hope you guys got that. And then finally, the sun sets in the west. Is this a conditional or not a conditional sentence? It is not a conditional sentence because this is a fact and it does not need if to make it come true. Okay, so what do these conditional sentences have in common? I'll leave you a few seconds. Yes, the word if. If is an essential marker of a conditional sentence. So, if you later on are writing your conditionals, make sure you always have the word if. Otherwise, it's not a conditional. Okay, let's move on to the next question. How do you form a conditional? The conditional has two main parts, the if clause and a main clause. A clause is a part of a sentence. So I have the example here. If I win the lottery, I will buy you a house. The if clause starts with the word if and tells us under what conditions something will happen. The if clause mostly is the first clause, as in the example here. If I win the lottery, I will buy you a house. However, it's still a valid conditional if you turn them around. So I will buy you a house if I win the lottery is still a valid conditional. Now for the main clause, this tells us what happens if the condition is true. So here, the if clause is if I win the lottery, and the main clause is I will buy you a house. Okay? Now, let's see if you guys can spot the if clause and the main clause. I will be using an abbreviation. An abbreviation is an afkorting. If clause becomes IFC and main clause becomes MC. That way you guys don't have to write too much, and it's a much easier and quicker way of noting this down. Let's look at the first sentence. If I see you later, I will say hello. What is the if clause and what is the main clause? Okay, the if clause is if I see you later because it has the word if, and the main clause is then I will say hello. Okay, the next one. I would buy a large vacation home if I had $1 million. What is the if clause and what is the main clause? The main clause here is the first clause. I would buy a large vacation home. And if I had $1 million, then becomes the if clause. Very good. This is an example of the if clause coming second. Okay? And then the final one, I'm sure you guys gotten the hang of it now. If it had rained last week, the plants would not have died. What is the if clause? Yes. The if clause is if it had rained last week. And the main clause then is the plants would not have died. Good. I hope you guys understand this. Otherwise, watch the video again. Then, when do we use conditionals? This will become more clear in the later exercise. But firstly, a little overview. We use the conditional to talk about facts and rules, such as, if I heat up water, it boils. These are facts in life. They're unchangeable, and this is a true situation. We also use the conditionals to describe possible future events. If it rains tomorrow, we will cancel the outdoor concert. Okay, to imagine unreal situations. If I were a famous singer, I would perform at Coachella. This is unreal because you say if I were a famous singer, which means that I am currently not a famous singer. I know the world is missing out, but maybe someday. We also use conditionals to talk about regret. Regret translates to what? Dum dum dum. Spät. So, this might be relatable to some of you, I hope not. If I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. This person regrets something. They know that if they had studied harder, they would have passed. And then finally, to talk about past events that did not happen. If we had arrived earlier, we would have caught the opening act. However, we will rehearse this quite a few times, and this information will be available to you guys. So, how many conditionals exist? There are 4 conditionals in total, starting with the 0 conditional. An example is, if you heat ice, it melts. The first conditional, if I see you later, I will say hello. The second conditional, if I had $1 million, I would buy a large vacation home. And the third conditional, if I had finished college, I would have become a doctor. So there are 4 conditionals in total, but you start with 0, so please don't write down the 4th conditional. That does not exist. Okay? Now, I hope you guys paid attention, and now it's time to test yourself with the quiz below the video. So you can close this video and do the quiz. I want to wish you guys good luck, and if you need to watch this video again, go ahead. Bye guys!